Everyone has a bright light inside of them that deserves to be seen by the world. That's why it's time to shine the light on the extraordinary who are accomplishing phenomenal things. This is the Shine Out Loud Show with Lillian Ogbogo.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever in the world you are, and welcome to another episode of the Shine Out Loud Show with me, Lillian Ogbogo. Now, tonight, I have the woman who is the visionary behind Mama Luna, a herbalist, a badass womanist. This woman makes you want to make friends with your Yoni and understand why your cycle is doing what it is doing and how to make your relationship with your cycle, your Yoni and body better. I am talking about the fabulous Emma Ekata. Hey, Emma, how are you?
I'm just blushing at that introduction. Thank you. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm excited.
Oh, you are welcome. This is me paying homage to you because I've been stalking you for a while, and it's basically, guys, I said social stalking, not stalking. But I really wanted to have you on the show because you talk about things that are very dear and near to my heart, which are happy cycles, happy yonis, and also just how women can actually stand in their power and own their body. So thank you for being on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh.
So let's talk about this. Since 2016, you've been working as a Yoni steam facilitator, a herbalist, and a woman's womanist. So I think let's actually start with that. What is a womanist?
So a womanist is someone who cares about the freedom and the rights of all women. And that's what I am. And before calling myself a womanist, I was just like, yeah, I'm a feminist, like loads of other women have said. But I actually found that the feminist movements or other women who call themselves feminists were not using their voice or their platform, energy, anything for my rights. And that's as a Black woman. And I looked at it further into it in terms of like the history of feminism and how it was founded and all of that. And it very much is a white woman's platform. And it's like, even though the white women who gatekeep feminism don't even stick up for all white women. If you're Roma, Gypsy, lesbian, you're out. And I was just like, I can't call myself that, especially when race is such a massive thing. But being a womanist, I'm just like, it doesn't matter where you're from. Like, there's just something in my heart that just says, I will have your back, because as a woman, I know what it's like to be oppressed, to be suppressed, and not even externally, but also in terms of how you take that on internally. Also, my womanism extends to trans women as well, and non-binary, gender fluid, femme-presenting people as well.
Okay. You know what? I think that is something that is a discussion and a half in itself, because I think it was Bell Hooks that says, "Ain't I a woman too?" And when we start looking into the whole thing, I remember when I studied feminism at uni, I remember reading that Black feminism was actually termed pot and pan feminism. Yeah. So in terms, because when we are looking at that, the whole concept about feminism was about women's right to work or go out into the public space to work. But Black women have always worked. And so we were not, women who looked like us were actually the ones working. So these women could go out into those spaces to have those conversations. But we digress, because that is not the conversation today. The conversation today is about Emma Ekata and Mama Luna. And so we know that you are a womanist, but we also know that you are a herbalist and a Yoni steam facilitator. So how did you get into herbalism?
I suppose with Mama Luna, it was the perfect platform and chance for me to really explore that, because before I actually started Yoni steaming, I had always been interested in natural health and specifically medicinal herbs. And I mean, I won't take paracetamol, like give me willow bark or, you know, chewing chunks of pineapple. Like I'm just not into traditional like Western medicine at all.
Right.
But I suppose one of the reasons I didn't engage with it as much as I did with Mama Luna is because it was frowned upon. It was seen as alternative, as wacky, and I wanted to be taken seriously by my family and by my friends. But it's crazy because even looking back now, I'm just like, why did I need the permission or validation or anything? But it just is what it is, or was what it was. But I suppose when it, I just didn't have the empowerment. Whenever I looked at Black women specifically who were into herbalism, there was always some sort of label as, you know, voodoo, magic, oh, they're gonna poison you, oh, it's demonic, it's witchcraft. And you know, I'm from Cameroon, I'm African. My parents are, or at least I was raised in a Christian household, and even from like the religious point of view, again, it's witch work, it's the devil's work, it's witchcraft, and all of these like really negative things. And so it just wouldn't have been safe for me at the time to have explored, let alone practiced herbalism. But at the time when I started Yoni steaming, something just opened my eyes, and the life that I had lived before, everything that I was taught and conditioned to, I just basically had to be like, deuces, because I was just like, it's not working for me. I don't want it. And Yoni steaming, I'm sure we'll speak about it later on in the podcast, but it empowered me to really step into who I am, or at least explore who I am, or I'm wanting to become. And so with Yoni steaming, it's herbs. It's the herbs that act as the medicine. So not only did I want to work with herbs, I needed to, because you can't steam with water or with oils. Yeah. So I was just like, okay, get me to an apothecary, let's go. Like, where's the field? Where's the bush? Where am I foraging? It was just perfect, and it really aligned with my soul. Like it's just the best thing ever.
Okay, so you know what, I love that. I love the fact that you try to avoid it, and it was like, well, sis, I'm gonna be waiting for you anyway. So
yeah, the lavender was just like, sniff me.
Exactly. Lavender's like, you come back, don't worry,
exactly.
I'll wait for you.
Yeah.
And then Rosemary was like, she'll be back.
Exactly. Whenever I look into my kitchen cupboard and see the rosemary there, or the thyme, or the sage, or whatever, they're all just there, waiting. But I've also studied as well, so I'm actually like a qualified and experienced herbalist as well. I did start off with, you know, books, and then doing my own sort of like experiments. But I was just like, actually, like, if I actually want to teach this and be taken seriously, and also not mess up anyone's health, but make it way better, I actually have to study. And I love studying anyway. I'm a massive science nerd. I love physiology. I love anything to do with like alchemy anyway. So it was perfect.
Okay, I like this. You're using words that I absolutely adore. So, you know, so let's jump into this. First and foremost, when we're talking, unless you've been living under a rock and you don't know what Yoni steaming is, let's talk about Yoni steaming, because there are people who don't know Yoni steaming, and there are people who have different views about Yoni steaming. Goop.
Oh, the devil is a liar.
And so when, in terms of this, what is Yoni steaming and where did it originate from?
So Yoni steaming is literally like steaming your face, but instead you steam your yoni. And your yoni is, it's everything. I don't want to be like down there, but yeah, down there. So it's your ovaries, it's your, I'm going to say this in like inverted commas, but it's your fallopian tubes, which I've now renamed Holy Pathway, because fallopian tubes are basically named after Georgius Fallopius, who's a 16th century gynecologist who apparently said he discovered the fallopian tubes.
But it was
and
never lost. What is with these men discovering things that weren't lost in the first place?
Exactly. But I mean, the whole formation of the Western medical industry is a whole conversation to be had within itself. But yeah, for the rest of this podcast, I'll say, when I say holy pathway, I mean fallopian tubes. So
Right.
ovaries, holy pathway, it's your uterus, which is also known as your womb. It's your endometrium, which sits at the top of your uterus, and that's the bit that sheds every month. It's your perimetrium, which sits at the sides of your uterus. And then it's your cervix, it's your sacred pilgrimage, which is what I call the vagina. And
Okay.
vagina is Latin for sword or sheath holder.
It's a sheath holder, yeah. I was like,
yeah, no, can't be doing that. And again, that's a whole conversation for another time. So that's all in the interior, and then it's the outside, the exterior as well. So that would be your clitoris. It's your glans hood, which actually covers your clitoris, and then it's your inner labia, your outer labia, and then also your pubis mons. So that's the spongy bit that the hair grows out of. So all of that is your yoni, and that's what gets steamed. In terms of where it comes from beloved Africa, and specifically it comes from South Africa, and it originated there about 3,000 years ago. In terms of the actual region, because it's so long ago, and because boundaries are changing and maps are always changing, and of course colonization, I haven't been able to find out exactly which part of South Africa it's from. But
wow,
I hope that answered that.
That's news to me, because when we think of these type of activities, we think Asia, we think other places. They're not attributed to us, and I use the collective us here.
Yeah.
So it started in South Africa.
Yeah, it's an ancient African healing ritual, and when it comes to anything to do with Africa, no one wants to give Africans or Black people, our ancestors, their dues ever.
I mean, that's why they claim the pyramids are all by aliens. But again, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I might have to steam before we go there.
I don't even think steaming can help us on that one.
Yeah.
So you know, when we talk about that, so now we are getting understanding that it originated in Africa. It's a healing practice. So why is it that when we talk about, we're still talking about yoni steaming, it's either those who are saying, hey, I'm going to charge you $150 for yoni steam, or people are still going, what is that? Or people are going, don't do it, it's going to burn up your yoni lips and your yoni will fall out.
Yeah.
For people who are on the fence about yoni steaming and are concerned, what is it that we need to know about it, and how does it actually help us?
Okay, so I would say, well, first of all, you never know something until you try it. So you just have to be willing to take that step. But also, I know it might sound like it's some sort of like mysterious thing. It's really actually simple. Let the steam cool down. Like you wouldn't put your hand or your elbow or any other part of yourself over boiling water or into it. So then why would you do that with such a sensitive area of your body? Like, we have common sense. So I'm just like, people, let's use it. So you just leave the water to cool down. That's one of the main things. Also, get it done by or with or be facilitated by someone who actually knows what they're doing. So hello. I mean, I gotta, but I'll definitely say to be facilitated by someone, or go to some like professional establishment. And then also make sure you get the herbs from a specific trained herbalist. I would never that's me too. But even if you don't go to a herbalist, like I know there are lots of these womb spas popping up.
Yes.
I would still say to check and make sure that the herbs have been blended by, again, someone who was a trained herbalist. Because the way yoni steaming works is that it's not like it's just specifically for your yoni. There's a specific muscle that connects your yoni to your brain. That becomes activated as like normally between 10 to 15 minutes into your steam, once that muscle is a lot more warmed up. But you know, outside, and that sends messages from your yoni all the way up into your brain. And what happens is also that your brain is activated. I mean, your brain is always on the go anyway, but specifically your hypothalamus, which is the eyes and ears to your inner and outer world. So with your inner world, it's temperature, digestion, your sleep patterns. With your outer world, still temperature, gauging whether you can cross the road, yeah or not, signals, danger, all of that. So that's alert as well. And when your hypothalamus picks up on specific messages from the herbs, bear with me, pick up with specific messages from the herbs in terms of what it's picked up of what's going on in your yoni and then also the rest of your body, your hypothalamus then sends all of these messages to your pituitary gland.
Right.
Our pituitary gland is like the engine room of our emotions. All of our emotions start there. And from our emotions then come hormones to do with whatever we're experiencing, again, emotionally at that time. So then specific hormones will be created and released, or not, into your actual body. So these are what actually flowing through your blood into your system. So not only is your pituitary gland and your hypothalamus activated, it's also your I don't know what system to call this. Let's just say your parasympathetic and sympathetic system.
Okay, so like the vagus nerves, your
so with your parasympathetic system, that will specifically be your lungs, your heart, your adrenal gland, and specifically your reflector muscles. So those are the muscles in your hips that have to do with fight, flight, or freeze. So a lot of the time, not even a lot of time, it just helps to really slow down your breathing, and it puts you into a state of relaxation and calm. So I always say it's really good if anyone wants to do that sort of like deeper inner work, do it whilst you're on a yoni steam, because it completely deactivates your freeze or fight response, because you're in a calm state. There's no sense of danger around you. Your breathing is a lot slower as well. You're getting much more oxygen into your body. But then it also activates some parts of your thyroid system as well. And then your central nervous system. So the whole of your spine is activated at this time, regardless of what position you are sitting or standing in whilst you're doing your steam. All of your central nervous system, because the base of your central nervous system is activated once the steam from the heat from the steam reaches it, and the nerves that are positioned all along your spine, they pick up on the messages. So, and then those are sent all the way up into your brain as well. Not only that, but they pick up on the different messages almost like as they're traveling. So they go past your kidneys. What's the message for your kidneys? They go past your lungs. What do your lungs need? What does your heart need?
Right.
All of that. So it's a full body process. And this is why I say you need to go to a qualified herbalist, but also someone who has studied physiology.
Sounds amazing. One more cough. This is actually amazing, because this whole concept of understanding that it has an impact, not just on our sexual reproductive organs, but it's also sounding like it has a full body impact. So I guess my next question will be with the because you do the consultation with clients when you're making a herb for them. So you do actual bespoke herbs.
Yes.
What is it that you look for when you speak to a client when you're making the herbs to make it right for that patient or right for that client?
I specifically look for an intention, or at least I try to work with that client to figure out what the intention is sometimes it's very clear, sometimes it isn't, and then I give prompts. I have to ask questions, but definitely an intention. And then I always ask about emotions, like what's going on in your life, like emotionally, what's going on, like stress wise. And yeah, it is very personal, but I think I feel very confident in being able to like hold that space, and also maintain some sort of like professionalism as well, because I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor, but again, I do want to create a safe space for someone to feel like not only can they go there within themselves, but then to be able to tell me. So I look for an intention, and I look for what's going on emotionally, because the emotions are what feeds into us physically, even if we're not aware of it.
Okay.
And yeah.
I love this. So when you have a consultation with them, you go away, you make their blend and send it to them. So how are they supposed to use it? Do they use all the package at one time, or is it that what is the next steps?
So the next step, for me on my side, is I go away and blend the herbs, and then I have the herbs sitting on my altar for at least 24 hours with that person's intentions. Like, I'm a very prayerful person as well. I'm a very spiritual person, so I'll say a prayer over them, but that's something I mentioned in the consultation and get permission to do first of all. So I do that, because again, we're not just dealing with the physical, it's the emotional as well. And I do really care, like I really deeply care. And it's something that I haven't done yet, but I'm going to do from now on, is to actually mark on the actual package, like how many herbs to use. So a standard packet is £15, and you get enough herbs to do 4 Yoni steams out of that. If you buy a pack for £30, that's going to have enough for 8, but I'm actually going to put physical markers, so when you're pouring it out, you know almost like where to place your hands or your fingers, and then stop. Yeah.
And I think that's very important, because so that people get to understand how that process works. Now you've told us what it is, you've told us what it does. So my question is, who benefits from it? We know it's for women, but we're talking about, can women who have had their wombs removed benefit from it? Pregnant women, are they allowed, because there's so many things with pregnancy that you cannot do? Who can benefit from it? Can even men benefit from it?
Okay, well, let's speak about women first, and I'm going to speak specifically more to I suppose like cisgendered women. So all women can do it, even from girlhood. Like, as soon as you start your first period, boom, get on the Yoni steaming, just get on it. And there are actually it's mostly practiced in Peru, where it's just a normal thing. As soon as you start your period, they start Yoni steaming.
Okay.
So it's a traditional thing, but I suppose the only people who couldn't do it are women who are pregnant, because that can actually cause a miscarriage. Even though Yoni steaming, it feels really lovely, it feels amazing, it's gentle, it's incredibly powerful, and it breaks down tissue cells as well. So within pregnant women, it can cause an abortion. If you have an untreated STD, STI, then don't get it. Just don't do it until that's dried up and cleared away, and then you can do it. I say anyone who's had a recent vaginal tear or cut, so this can be maybe postpartum women, not to do it, at least give yourself a good 2 weeks to heal. And then trigger warning, FGM people as well. Anyone who's had FGM, give yourself again 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks from having your labia removed, to then being able to do a Yoni steam as well. So those are the 4 groups that I know of that should stay away from Yoni steaming. Yeah.
Okay.
But then I'd say so even if there are women who have had hysterectomies, you can still do a Yoni steam, because there are still muscles that will benefit from the actual steam. And then even though the Yoni itself, also the uterus itself, may have been removed, the Yoni, it's a spiritual, energetic. It's still a creative center, and so it still needs to be attended to, and you can still steam for anything other than sort of like a physical need, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then sorry, I was just going to say, because you asked if men can do it.
Yes.
So men can actually do it, but for them it will be called a lingam steam instead. And obviously, well, I'm going to say obviously not internal, but it's not as internal as it would be for women. So they can do it, and it's a slightly different mixture of herbs, just because of the varying level of hormones that men have. And then this isn't me putting trans women into the category of men, I just didn't get to say it before, but I personally wouldn't hold space for a transgender woman to be able to do a Yoni steam in my workshop unless I've had, goodness knows like how many consultations with them, and can almost like see their medical records, because I don't know what type of medication they're on, especially when it comes to like hormones. I'm not trained in that. I'm trained in women's physiology and actual body, and that takes into account like hormones and stress levels. I don't know what it's like for someone who's trans.
Right. Well, you know what, and that's absolutely fine. I find it fascinating that it does extend quite, men can do it, and there's the different types and different herbs. So what are some of the herbs that will go into a traditional blend for a woman? Let's say a woman who is working on her fertility, to a woman who wants to use Yoni steaming to just ease and find relaxation in her body.
I would say a top herb for like that I use anyway within a fertility mix is ashwagandha, because that really boosts what's that word? Why can't I get the word? It's almost like an aphrodisiac, like a herbal aphrodisiac.
Oh, is it an adaptogenic?
It is an adaptogenic. However, I suppose when used with other herbs, or at least like the ones in my mixes, in my blend, because the focus is fertility, the other herbs that I would use would almost like counteract, or almost like cancel out the adaptogenic property.
Okay.
Because what's needed in terms of the fertility property is to boost the estrogen, and estrogen is that hormone that makes us feel sort of like a bit horny, a bit randy, we feel sexy. It also helps to boost lubrication as well, and that just makes it easier for sperm to actually travel up the sacred pilgrimage into the womb space. So that's the type of herb that I would use for a fertility blend. Whereas if it was purely a relaxation mix, I definitely use lemon balm. Like lemon balm is like one of my favorite herbs to use, and it's not quite an adaptogen, it's more of a relaxant and a calmant, but I love it the same way. I absolutely love it. I just feel so
so basically a lemon, because I have lemon balm in my kitchen, and I use it as a tea to relax me. So generally after a steam, they will have a very relaxed yoni.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like if you drink it as a tea, like just imagine what it's actually doing to your yoni. And not only that, remember, a yoni steam isn't just about your yoni, it's having much more relaxed central nervous system. Your heart is much more relaxed as well. Your hips, your actual pelvic floor muscle will actually be a lot more relaxed. Your hypothalamus will just be like, oh my gosh, we are chilled. Okay. So we are just #soft life now, You know
what? Listen, that phrase "soft life" is my mantra for this year. I'm all about the soft life. So and we need that soft life, and especially for women of color, because we have been in that space of and I think it's now time for
definitely.
It's now time for Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
just
that's, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Just hold on. So like I said, I know you can talk about Yoni steam until the end of time, but there's
Yes.
also another thing that you are incredibly passionate about, and it's actually talking about menstrual cycles. And for
Yes.
us, what are some of the myths that you are still finding that people are coming up about our menstrual cycles that we still hold on to be truth?
Oh my God. The number one is that periods are meant to be painful, or that the pain is normal.
Isn't it?
And it's not at all. It is not. It is not. That's a hill that I will die on. Okay. Periods are not meant to be painful. And the fact that we normalize them is absolutely crazy. And even just the fact that we would just feel like we can just have to like ignore that pain, we just get through it. It's like, if we have a headache, do we just ignore it, or do we get a lemon balm? Do we get paracetamol? Do we maybe start drinking more water? Whatever we do,
We
we're
do
not
something.
ignoring it. Exactly. Or if we hurt our arm or just any other part of our body, we do not ignore it. So why is that we do that when it comes to our yoni? And it's like, also,
Persevere and carry on. I don't
yeah,
know.
exactly. No, I feel like that's one of the biggest ones one of the biggest taboos that I hear. And it's actually crazy how much work I've got to do to really like get people to just not believe that and have this programming out of their head. And I think one of the major reasons for that is because we're told this from, I want to say, childhood. Even if it's not told directly to us, we may hear that from like the school nurse, maybe talking to our older sisters or cousins, or we hear older women speaking about it as we're out and about. We see in adverts as well. So
no. Adverts will make you believe that you can go horse riding
yeah,
and throw a baseball and
yeah,
wear white and tumble about on a beach.
yeah. And even that is part of not ignoring it. Like, I totally get that some people are like incredibly like still active and still have like same high energy levels, but it's just like, but come on, like, you have blood seeping out of you, like take a minute to stop. But again, this is part of the conditioning, because once we as children hear older women who are literally like mirror images of ourselves and representations of ourselves, that we then, it programs into us that yes, periods are painful. Not only that, periods are also culturally the onset of the journey into womanhood. So we accept that as part of our womanhood. So pain is now synonymous with womanhood. Then what else do we accept? Even by the time we're teenagers, there are so many girls that I speak to, and that's here just in the UK alone, and this is considered a first world country. There are so many girls who expect to experience sexual harassment, who are just so aware of just other forms of like sexual harassment. They're aware of the body, they're aware of slut shaming, and they're also like just aware of, I suppose, more like subconsciously aware of gender inequality, but then also go on to accept that. And so with saying that periods are painful or that it's normal, it's conditioning women to pain. And I don't even want to know I don't want to know. So I can't even as a Black woman, I'm just like, well, as Black women, we're conditioned to be strong. That's almost something to be proud of.
Yep.
And
this condition to embody suffering and
exactly. So it's just like, it's that double layer for us as well. Not only that, we're not allowed to show weakness or pain, and it's just like, then that's still severing us from our notion or perception of femininity. We can't ask for help. What do you mean ask for help? You're strong. No. What do you mean you don't have the energy? You're strong. Aren't you meant to be?
I mean, you're supposed to hold down 3-4 jobs at the same time, while raising a family of 10,
exactly,
community, and some other thing, and also trying to corral a wayward partner, and do all of this while being a deaconess at the church.
Yeah, precisely. So that's one of the reasons I find that notion so hard to get people to unlearn, because we're not just talking about the physical pain, we're talking about the fact that it conditions girls, innocent girls, into accepting pain as part of the human experience. Yeah, so it's that. And then in, I suppose, more so the Middle Eastern and, let's say, South Asian world, if you cook food, it's gonna rot. Actually, I've heard that in some parts of Africa as well, actually. So if you cook food, it's gonna rot. If you walk into a field while you're menstruating, it's like a field of like crops, then all of the crops will die. That your cycle is meant to be every 28 days. If it isn't, then there's something wrong with you, but then there's nowhere to go to turn to for help. That it's dirty, it's disgusting. Yeah.
You are somehow, you can't be in spiritual places. Yep. And it's funny, the only place that I've ever heard anything positive about our menstrual cycle is actually Australia. The Aboriginal Australians, and with the red earth, believe that the red earth is from their earth mother goddess's blood, and which is why they use it on their weapon, they use it in their ceremonies, because what I remember reading was that it's supposed to protect them. That blood is the blood of their earth goddess mother, and that is supposed to protect them and everything. So that is the only place that I think I've read anything positive about our cycles.
So I'm actually surprised that you were actually able to find anything positive, because when I was doing like my research, when I first really got into Yoni steaming, and three months into Yoni steaming, so I had only done 6 steams, and my cycle was my actual period was so much lighter, and there wasn't any pain, and I was just like, I have been lied to. Like, I have never felt so like vengeful and hurt and anything in my life, because by that time I was 27, so I had had goodness knows how many periods from the age of 12 to 27 that were painful, and I just accepted it. So when I started doing research into like why was I lied to and stuff, I couldn't find anything. I know that there are different like really ancient tribes that celebrated the period, but it's been such a long time that there aren't any written records. There doesn't seem to be anyone who can translate any texts or any symbolism or anything. And then I'm just like, that's been done on purpose. And we've got colonization and capitalism and white supremacy to thank for that. And I got to a point where I was just like, do you know what? I don't even need these texts or anything for me to celebrate and love my period. I was just like, I'm the one who's got a period and bleeds for how many days and doesn't die. I'm the one who's going through the life-death life cycle right now. I'm the one who can bleed out whatever's going on with me that no longer serves me emotionally, and then who can use pre-ovulation as, you know, a way to start something new in my life. I'm the one who can do that. I'm the one with the power here. No one's going to tell me anything. So I was just like, I don't need anyone's validation. I don't need anyone's permission. Juices.
You know, I love the fact that you just throw up the juices. You're like, I'm done with all of you. You know, and that's the thing. And I love the fact that you run women's circles for, you know, cycles and helping women come to a place of understanding of your cycles. And speaking of which, when is your next workshop?
So, well, I've actually got a course that's starting on May the 18th, and that one's called Sacred Cycles, because our cycle is just that, sacred. And that is a 4-week course. It's live. It will be recorded though for anyone who just can't make it for whatever reason. But yeah, we go through each week, we look at one phase in particular. So our cycle is built up of 4 phases, which are, I don't even want to spill the tea right now, but either way, each week is dedicated to one particular phase. We will be having live exercise classes as well, or movement. specifically suited to how we can like physically support ourselves during that phase of the cycle. We talk about diet as well for that phase. We look at how we can reclaim that part of our cycle for ourselves. We'll do role plays. There'll be Yoni steams as well. So I will actually be doing live Yoni steams. So for anyone who wants to join in or just doesn't, or who would like to just know more about it, I will be there doing a live Yoni steam. We'll be talking about herbal support as well. So like outside of diet, what else can we take to support us during that time? And we'll actually, I will be prompting everyone to actually try to live cyclically. And if they don't do that, then at least like give it a go to see what does it feel like in your body, what needs to be worked on, is that maybe even right for you? Like I've been the course twice now and had so much fun. Like,
awesome. And you said the 18th of May, so you know, at the end you're going to give us your website and your link so people can find you and connect with you for that. So guys, reach out.
So I was going to say, so that's Sacred Cycle, and that's a 4-week course. Whereas I do have a workshop specifically just for periods, and that's just called Period Power. And we are literally going to be doing a Yoni steam specifically for periods. So that's for anyone who experiences like heavy bleeding, clots, irregular periods, long duration, fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis, has fertility problems. But then also for anyone who wants to dig deeper into their actual feminine energy during that time as well. And with that one, we'll be using my what's it called? I don't know why words are failing me. I have a Yoni steam blend specifically called Period Power. So we'll be going through all of the herbs throughout all of that and like how they work. It's a 2-part workshop, and I will also be teaching breast and Yoni massage as well. And looking into leading slow, soft, gentle movements that we can actually do to tune in to ourselves during that time and lessen any pain that's there as well. So that's Period Power.
I love this, and we'll be sharing that, and that is something that happens, the Period Power, that happens consistently.
Yeah, so that one, starting from June, that one will be on the first Sunday of every month. However, I say that it's actually a 2-part workshop. So the first part is where we actually do the Yoni steam and speak about the herbs and do a bit of movement. The second part is where we actually have a deep dive into the more sort of like emotional and mental aspects of our period. So that's where the reclamation will come from, maybe even doing role plays. How we speak about our periods to ourselves, but then also to other people as well.
Okay. All right. So we'll be sharing all of that. And, you know, on your website, and when people go and find you on social, you're always talking about feminine power and women really reclaiming that intimate, innate power of theirs. What does that feminine power mean to you?
It means, how do I even word this? It means redefining what silence means to you. And the reason I say that is because as women or femme-presenting people, we have been suppressed and oppressed into silence, and a lot of us feel like we can't speak out. Whereas when you actually tune into the feminine energy, you actually go in, you're going into that silent place within yourself. And it's really about tuning out, goodness knows how much noise as well. So you can really hear yourself. You can really connect to your soul, your intuition, that deepest part of yourself. 2, in terms of reclaiming that silence, that means you do not need to talk to anyone who does not see your value, who wants to be willfully ignorant. Why waste your time talking to people who do not care? And that's what women do so much. If we're not having to prove our value or our worth to someone, we're trying to break through barriers and just to end up in places where we're not even wanted. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like, let's just stop that. Like, let's just stop that. And that's what I mean by reclaiming that feminine power. It's about going within to that silent, quiet place where we can really meet our most deepest inner true self. and then we decide what comes out of that into the external. But we can't do that if we're constantly bombarded by the external noise, you know?
And there's plenty of that external noise. But you know what? When we start looking at this, you're talking about topics, and your work is really around topics that we have been taught are, like you used the word, taboo. We don't talk about periods. We don't, you know, it's like we don't talk about Bruno. We don't talk about periods. We don't talk about Yoni. We don't, you know, we don't talk about Bruno. No. And you know, we don't talk about any of this. And your work is essentially that. So it almost feels like we, especially women of color, we have been taught to be afraid of our body and our sexuality.
Oh my God, yes.
What else can we do right now to stop taking ownership of our body, stop taking ownership of our sexual energy, start taking ownership of what lies between our thighs? How do you advise women who look like you to start that journey?
I would first of all say we'll start in terms of renaming parts of your body. So I renamed a fallopian tube. I renamed vagina. So mine are now Holy Pathway and Sacred Pilgrimage. Literally rename parts of your body. And you don't even just have to stop there. If you don't want your breasts to be breasts anymore, and now instead they are, I don't know, joyful mouths.
The mouth boys.
Exactly. Once, or something that I found is that once you rename something, once you do that, you are then able to claim ownership of it. So then you are the one who then decides how it's interacted with, who has access to you. You lay down the ground rules. It's about putting you in the center. And then also, this one's a bit harder and it takes a lot more emotional work, and you have to be incredibly honest with yourself. It's to really just take even if it's just 20 minutes, look at everything that's got you up to where you are in your life now in terms of how you view your body, and ask yourself, has that been positive or negative for you? If it's been positive, okay, cool, keep on with that if you want. But if it's been negative, why would you still continue doing that?
Yeah.
And you know, that's something that I had to do. That was key to my actual like survival, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I had to sit there and have that conversation with myself in terms of my body. And unfortunately, it led to Christianity, Catholicism, colonization, and even child abuse. I grew up in a very abusive home, and I was just like, but these are all the things that got me to where I am now in terms of the suppression, the hating on myself, the playing in sometimes into the Jezebel stereotype, because that's what I thought I had to do, or maybe even being hypermasculine, because at times I've had to physically protect myself to stop myself from being sexually assaulted or something, you know. But I had to realize that actually I played into all of that as well, because that's what I was conditioned to. So because that became clear to me, I was just like, well, here's how I stop it. So I'd say sit down and have a conversation with yourself, and just be honest as well.
And that conversation will be hard. And so I think also I will add to that to say, after you have that conversation, it's not an accusatory conversation. It's not you are dragging yourself and your yoni on trial, but it's a conversation like you're having one with a long lost friend, and to add forgiveness and compassion.
Yeah, definitely. So I was going to say, I did mine when I was yoni steaming, and so I was able to be sort of like really relaxed, and even just the yoni steam in itself, that felt like it was like a celebration or something. Obviously, you don't need to do that. So set yourself 5 minutes to write down some really nice things, like not even nice things you love. I'm talking love about yourself, like really celebrate yourself. I'll definitely say that. Maybe go out and buy yourself like a nice new like essential oil or crystal. Something I do is that I set myself, I journal, like have a deep dive journal every 3 months, just to be like, okay, who am I? What path am I on? My intentions, and then I go out and buy myself some flowers after. So I just say have something really nice planned for yourself after, because, you know, self-love, self-care, these are all forms of activism. and also it puts you at the center of your worth, your knowledge, how you want to be treated, how you want to show up for yourself as well. So that's what I'd say to all women, but definitely to women of color. Like, your body is not a thing of shame. It's not a source of abuse. You are not a dumping ground for someone's sperm or their fists or something. You are so much more than being someone's baby mother, whether you think, oh yeah, I'm strong enough to do this by myself, I don't need no one. Like, no, just know that you are so valued, but you're not going to know that. Like, I can say that till kingdom come. You have to know that for yourself. But
Sure.
you know, just love on yourself, take that time, 15-20 minutes out to have that really like honest conversation with yourself, and rename some parts of your body as well.
Okay. And I'm going to add one more. Look at that part. Set up a date, look at it, because it's yours. It doesn't only exist when there's a doctor in the room or there's some person in the room.
A guy.
Guy, girl.
Sex, whatever.
Look at it. And not from a place of, look at it like it's something that it's yours, and pride and all of that, and create that relationship. So that I would add.
Yeah.
So you know what, Emma, thank you so much for sharing some of these things. And I think that there's a lot that we can get out from these conversations. I think we need to be having more of them, especially for women that look like us, because there's so much that has been placed in front of, as barriers in front of us fully come to that place of loving our bodies. So I think I'm going to ask you a couple more questions before we wrap this up. And you know, we've talked about so much. We've talked about your work. We talked about what's coming. We've talked about, as women of color, where we have been and where we are now. So I guess my next question for you is, what are the top 2 things women can do right now to build, I'm not going to say strength, but more about resilience, to start building that resilience that they need to really say, I'm going to choose another pathway?
I would honestly say, and this is something I'm literally about to do now, because I'm about to come onto my period, and I always do this work every single month during PMT. I sit down, I say sit down and have a good conversation with yourself about where you're at in life. Like, what are your priorities? So I'd honestly say, just what are your priorities, whether that's your mental health, your money, work, career, family, food, whatever. Just make a list of your priorities and literally like reorder them, and then think about where you can find ease and flow and softness in your life. Like, I'd definitely say to do that. And then this might sound a bit crazy, but you just have to be some very black and white about some things. Like, write down 3 goals and then be very black and white. Like, we're talking yes and no.
Right.
So with those goals, anything you're doing in life, like if it's I don't know, a healthier diet. So think, is what I'm about to eat healthy? Is it helping with my goal? No, then don't do it. Like, it's really not that deep all the time. If it is, then go for it. So I definitely say to do those things, and that way you start to find these areas of your life where you can find that softness, that flow, that ease. But then also you can start building up your standards and boundaries as well. And that's definitely something that women of color have not been allowed to have. We have not been allowed to have standards or boundaries, because we're either trying to appease or be the same as white women, or we are having to apologize for being women and play up to the patriarchy. It's a really horrible blend. Doing these few things will help you to just, again, put yourself at the center of your universe. And these are the things that build up resilience. Like, and I think when we think resilience, we think like strength and, you know, especially like masculine strength. But I'm like, my resilience is my softness. And again, I'm about to come into my period. No one's going to see from me or hear from me at all in a few days. And for me, that's my resilience. Like, I'm very soft. I wear red. I do my nails and face masks. I just about water my plants. But, you know, that to me is my resilience. So I would literally say, like, definitely Okay.
All right. So how can people connect with you?
I'd say my website, definitely connect with me there, and you can just like send me a message. So that's www.mamaluna.online, or Instagram, and that's at mama_luna Yoni steam. It's a bit of a long one, but I'm not an easy gal.
You did it.
I did. Mm-mm.
So they have to go with intention to find you on Insta.
But it's going to be worth it because it leads to your own Yoni empowerment. That's nothing compared to the inner journey we have to take anyway. So,
oh boy, you're hilarious. All right, so guys, you can connect with Emma on her website, www.mamaluna.online, and go find her on Instagram, which is at mama_luna.
yes, _Luna
Yoni steam. Don't forget the Yoni steam. But you know what? If you forget, hit me up. I'll give you the deets.
Yeah.
Slide into her DMs.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate you spending time with us and sharing the advice that you have and sharing us what you do with the magic that you create for women to actually heal their yonis.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You are so welcome. So guys, it's a wrap. You know what to do. Go and look for Mama Luna. Ask Emma, connect with her, discover what Yoni steaming is for yourself, have those questions, get educated on how to really reconnect to your holy pathways, your mounds of joy, find the soft life in your body, do that, and let her guide you into loving this body you are in. So hit me up, like the show, share it with your people, send it to other womb-having Yoni women, people identifying as women, let them connect and hear the show, and we'll be back same time, same place. It's a wrap.